And welcome everyone to the Shitlord Preachers podcast. This is episode 52. 1 full year, Brook. Here we are.
Hallelujah. We made it. We made it.
I mean, yeah. So for those of you joining us for the first time, this is the Shitlord Preachers podcast where my Brook Potter and myself, both former preachers now, reformed shitlords, basically come together and we have a lot of discussions regarding just about anything from social commentary, political commentary, just really anything we want to talk to. It's basically both of us just talking. That's what it comes down to. And every now and then we do have guests on, but there could be changes to a few things with that, but we'll leave that to the very end. But how's it going today, Brooke?
It's good. I have to say that spring is actually, we're in spring. Like, this isn't even like fake spring. This is like real spring, like spring. Do you all have spring in Minnesota? I don't know.
We have spring for like a month before summer hits.
Oh, like winter spring, like not spring.
It's so this is the time of year where some days you have the heat on in the morning and the air conditioning on in the afternoon.
Yes. We're getting like that. Although the UK doesn't have air conditioning, we have open windows. Because there's just we're cold more often than we're ever hot. So for it to actually get hot out here is very rare, and it's kind of freaky for them. But I just want to say happy Mother's Day for those in the Western Hemisphere. It's Mother's Day in the US today, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. I called my mom today. You know, she's well. She's not listening to the show, but she wishes she would if she could. But yeah, you know, to all the ladies out there, we give the ladies a lot of shit all the time, but you know, we give them a little props today because we own every other day as men. So, you know, good stuff.
I mean, what, they get International Women's Day, they get Mother's Day.
Yeah. They get to go to these nice rallies and wear nice pink hats and worship vaginas. You know, what do men get? Just a bunch of dicks.
Yeah, there's no as far as I know, at least there's no penis hats or anything.
Yeah, no, it's dickheads.
Oh God. So Brooke, you went somewhere this weekend. I know you did a video on it, but tell me who you went to go see.
We're getting into this then. All right, so
we're getting into this.
And I, you know, forgive me, I'm going to have to plug another podcast to get into this story. But for the listeners and the viewers, I've had a pretty rough couple of months, right? You know, I had a breakup with a girlfriend. I was recently kicked out of an association that I was involved in London, which wasn't great. I was banned from a conference, which also was not great for false accusations, just people coming up with shit, and you know, yeah, it just escalated. So I didn't particularly like that. And of course, this is tax season out here, which is never fun. So I've had a lot going on. And even though things with, you know, the girlfriend and other things, you know, some of it is out of my control. Some of it was my choice as it came to the breakup and stuff. Yeah, I was pretty deflated. I was pretty kind of down, and I wouldn't say depressed, but definitely going through the stages of loss.
Right.
And the one thing that like really perked me up, apart from listening to our own podcast, is listening to a podcast by a gentleman named Robert Frank 615 by the name of The Glorious House of Gains. Are you familiar with this podcast, Amos?
I am very familiar. I haven't listened to it. I haven't listened to it as much as you have, but I do come across it from time to time. Now, and a lot of people know about Robert Frank as just the guy, the big buff guy that yells at a camera in his car.
Yeah, the rage car guy.
Exactly. He's this big buff guy that yells in the camera about just about anything. Like the answer to every problem in politics and anything is, you know, just going to the gym.
Go to the gym.
Get and lift, because, you know, racism. Yeah, it's like, you know, racism. Yeah, fuck that. We're going to the gym. We're gonna lift because, you know, in the gym, no race is above another, because everyone is just in there to get juicy as fuck.
Jacked, tanned, and juicy as fuck.
Exactly.
I actually tried to buy that T-shirt, but he didn't have it. but yeah, so I mean, his podcast is very entertaining. I highly recommend it. I've gone through the whole thing once, and I actually started it again. You know, because I mean that sounds real fanboy. But yeah, it was just so funny. It was just a bunch of, you know, gym bros hanging around the table, you know, talking about their weekends, their partying, drugs, trend, you know, steroids, fucking bitches. And it's very entertaining. So those guys came to the UK to one of the expos out here by the name of BodyPower in 2019 in the city of Birmingham. Now, you and I, Amos, had a conversation. It's like, you know, he's coming to the UK, you know, do I want to go to this? You know, like I'd love to meet him and just kind of thank him for, you know, the podcast really helped me personally. It helped me, you know, kind of lift myself. It also encouraged me to go to the gym. It's really been inspirational to me, at least in these past few months. And, but it's pricey, man. You know, it was going to be like £200-300, you know, for the ticket to the event, the hotel for the stay, not to mention the transportation. So it wasn't like
there like a day, right?
Yeah, just for the day. So it was really pricey, and I was kind of like, oh, you know, can I really justify spending like? I mean, I could go to Amsterdam for £300. I could get like a weekend out of that kind of money, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I decided no, fuck it, man. These guys have been really good. I really need to go and thank them, you know, for myself and stuff. So, planned the trip, booked the Hilton, bought my ticket, platinum, early access. So that was pretty cool. And I went on a Friday because I knew he was going to be swamped. I knew the booth was going to be swamped. He has a very big listenership in the UK, but everybody's going to go on the weekend. Not everybody could get the time off work to go on a Friday. So I went out there on Thursday, you know, overnighted in the hotel, 7 a.m. in the morning, checked out, put my bag in storage, and I went to meet Robert Frank 615. And I got to say, this is the first expo that I've been to in the UK. Definitely the first body building kind of expo. And I mean, it's not just bodybuilders, it's powerlifters and, you know, athletes and, you know, sprinters and stuff like that. Thing was massive, man. I mean, it was just huge. It was just every possible conceivable combination of anything to do with fitness and like the body, the mind, meditation, weights, travel, anything. There was a booth there for what you wanted.
Did they have like open like gyms kind of thing so people would just go there and just walk around and lift different things?
Yes, they actually did. In fact, the guy I met outside, well, his name was Les. I mean, there's so many of those guys, but 60 years old. And he was coming to BodyPower to lift because he goes to the gym twice a day. And, you know, he was coming there because he couldn't get to his gym. So he came to BodyPower just to lift. And yeah, they had all those types of things. They had lots of exhibits. One of the Viking exhibits actually had a 26 kilogram, that's about 50 pounds or more, Thor's hammer, like a Thor's hammer for almost 50 something pounds. And you'd lift it. If you could lift it, right? It's like you lift it with one hand and you kind of hold it and stuff like that. And you see how long you could hold it up for. And that was the kind of crap and shit that was going on around me, man. Like people were just lifting shit up, right?
Right.
So anyway, long story short, you know, I get there. It took me a while to find his booth, simply because there was so much. And of course, the eye candy, man. That place was a oasis. Like the girls there are like top of the line, looking good, looking fit. And I was kind of walking around like, shit, I got to get in shape, man. You know, like they're not even going to look at me. Right. That was kind of like, yeah, I got to get in the gym, man, you know, which is good. It was good motivation for me. Definitely. But anyway, I eventually found the booth early on. And two of the co-hosts from the Glorious House Gains podcast, Ray Vegas and Beard So Strong, J-Lo, were setting up. Now, J-Lo's not a regular, but you know, he has a lot of featuring and stuff like that. He's always partying with those guys. And that was really surreal, man, to see him up close. And I really felt like, oh, I know you guys. You know, we were having some talk and stuff. Like J-Lo's notorious for like banging chicks, kind of, you know, just like gets to the hotel and like takes the receptionist and takes it to the room, bangs her kind of thing, right?
Wow.
So yeah, he's just got a reputation. And Ray Vegas, Jack Man with a permanent tan, you know, he's thick in the maid section. Don't let him bang your daughter because she'll need a C-section, right? He was, yeah, he was there, man. Hey, we got Conk is in the chat, man. Hi Conk, how you doing, man? That's Corey, man. But yeah, so that was really cool. We got to hang out for a bit. But the man himself, Robert Frank, wasn't going to be there until about 10:30. So I went off, did some sightseeing, checking out some stuff. Oh, dude, I mean, there was this fantastic. I mean, do you know what a black Irish is? I don't know.
Sounds like a drink.
I know. You'd think it was like a black Russian, right? No, the black Irish is a look of these, you know, the Irish look tends to be, you know, kind of ginger with, you know, red hair. But a black Irish is the ginger look with dark hair, with black hair.
Right,
so it's
right.
Very, very fair skin, very light eyes, but jet black hair. And I have a weakness for that look. Just like straight up, I just find that's a very exotic look. And there was a girl, a woman, she was like fit and she just had these piercing blue eyes and black hair and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I love this woman. I've got to talk to this woman and you know, just meet this girl and stuff like that. So that entertained me for a while. She had a boyfriend, of course, you know, so it didn't really work out for me. So coming down to the time, I went back to the booth. And the man himself, Robert Frank, 615, comes out with Jimmy Triceps. And for those of you who don't know, I mean, Robert Frank is known for, you know, the rage guy. Jimmy Triceps is known for his pet peeve of the week, right? So every week he will call out some kind of gym thing that's pissing him off. And like, for instance, if you're on the treadmill doing cardio and there are like 10 treadmills, you know, somebody comes to the treadmill that's right next to you, and they start like running and stuff like that, and that kind of stuff pisses him off, right?
I could definitely see that. Yeah, especially in big gyms, it's like,
yeah.
Now, if it's like, you know, like I don't know, like a couple or something, that's one thing. But if it's like
just a random stranger just comes next to you and starts doing that, and yes, he's known for that. Like if people lifting in the gym without shoes, I don't know if you've seen that. Like a lot of powerlifters.
Most gyms, at least the gyms I go to, that would be probably not, most definitely not allowed.
I mean, they got some, you know, really dingy gyms out there, you know, the type that have like needles in the bathroom and stuff, and you know, people just pull their pants down.
Oh
and,
yeah, I mean,
trend, you know.
Yeah, you've definitely got places like that where it's, you know, it's a relatively affordable, you know, membership in the middle of and it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's so large, you know, or just so run down, you know. They got the weights, but they don't really do much else, you know.
And the weights are rusty, you know. I mean, you're really pushing it. So
they don't let you drop the weights because the weights might snap in half.
exactly. So anyway, Jimmy Triceps talks about it, and he's my height. You know, he is actually about as tall as me, maybe 5'6", 5'7". That's kind of where I'm at. That was pretty cool, and he is jacked. The man could be on stage like ripped, and his diet is complete garbage. He eats donuts and gummy bears and just like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That's his power food, you know. But yes, you know, long story short, again, I got some pictures with Robert Frank. I got some pictures with Jimmy Triceps. I hung out with the guys. That time, I made a couple of passes to the booth and stuff, and it was really good. In fact, I did a video on my YouTube channel. If anybody wants to get like an extended version of this story, they can listen to that. But it was really good. I actually felt very emotional when I left. Like, you know, as I say, I don't have a lot of support out here. I don't have a lot of friends out here. So it just felt good to like really, you know, get some bros together. And I really felt like I was part of that for, you know, a brief moment in time. So that was really good. Came back to London, and next morning went to the gym and got a sick fucking pump. Yeah, buddy.
No, do they have the shirt? So the big tagline with Robert Frank is was it swole is the goal, size is the prize. It's gains of clock, motherfuckers. Do you have that? Did you get a shirt that says that, or did they sell a shirt?
I did. It doesn't say the full thing. It just says "Swole is the goal, size is the prize," and it's like a cartoon picture of him screaming. And I got the toxic masculinity, which I'm looking forward to wearing out here in England because that's like really taboo, right? But
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder at times. I mean, granted, it's probably not as a big a deal. I have to get something a little more controversial. Just wearing the Kekistan hat from time to time. That gets a little odd at times, but yeah, man, toxic masculinity. Maybe I'll have to find a shirt that says that.
Yeah, I mean, at least for you guys, you could order it in the States, right? You could go to robertfrank615.com. And at this point, there'll be a ka-ching if this was the podcast. And you could order it from the website. But for me, it's like I got to add 20 to 25 US dollars shipping. So it doesn't make it. I'm not going to spend $50 on a fucking t-shirt. All right.
Right.
And the one more thing that they gave me, and again, this is a shameless plug for Robert Frank's, his deal. They gave me a bunch of samples of steel supplements, right? And one of which is very notoriously called Hard AF or Hard as Fuck, and it's basically an andro that gets your dick hard, right? It's a gym Viagra kind of thing. It literally is, that's it. Hard as fuck is free. It's like erection pill is written on the pack. And
I mean, is this supposed to encourage you to work out so hard that blood doesn't just stay there? So you're not walking around the gym with a boner?
No, this is just a fuck. This is just if you got like whiskey dick, you've been drinking too much and you just can't get it up. You pop too hard AF and you go to Pound Town, right?
Wow.
And I mean, the story with Beard So Strong, he tried it once and he said like for like a couple of days later, like the whole weekend, he could not put his dick down. Like the breeze would blow and he'd just get a woody, right? So he calls up Robert Frank and he's like, bro, how long is this shit supposed to last? He said, well, it could take a couple of days and stuff like that. And he says, all right, if this shit doesn't, wear off pretty soon, I'm going to come there and fuck you,
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So I I'm single now, so I got to find, someone to take to the fuck truck, and try out some hard AF.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Great experience. And I'd recommend it, Amos, if you can get a chance to go out and meet him and the guys and stuff. They're really cool guys. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll have to check that out. Now, speaking of the fuck truck, no.
Are we talking about not a university student?
No. Oh God, no. We're not. That wouldn't sound right. I mean, we could briefly touch on that. Yeah, it got a little weird again. I mean, didn't get to see her this weekend, so that's gonna be 2 weekends in a row not seeing her. Whole bunch of stuff going on, man. One weekend family stuff, another weekend other I mean, it's not it's definitely an interesting thing. But I guess there's not really much to say. Just haven't seen her in a while, and it's not because of anything like, I guess that would be out of. I mean, it's things that are basically out of both of our control. But I mean, it might be a good thing, if anything. Really could really build up anticipation for when we do see each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not much beyond that I could say about that. I was wanting to touch on this topic you brought up because I didn't even think of it till you brought it up. The like you're saying, the fuck truck, the fuck strike.
The sex strike.
The sex strike. So
Alyssa Milano.
Yeah, so was it Georgia? So Georgia's passing some new law regarding abortion, like some heartbeat law, like past 6 weeks or something. Abortion is pretty much illegal.
Yeah, I think once the heartbeat is detected, it's illegal to have an abortion.
Now, was there something on miscarriages in that law?
I think. Well, I mean, this is I haven't read it, so I don't really know much about it. But I think that's also how the leftists are trying to portray it. That sometimes people receive, they have a miscarriage well after the 6 weeks, and they're trying to imply, well, that would be a prisonable offense, and that's I can't believe that's actually what the legislation says. So I think that's just propaganda.
I've heard some pushes on that, like, people saying like it could be misconstrued as like, if you're like the law could, through that law, someone could make the case that if you were like being negligent in your pregnancy, like a miscarriage could be seen as an abort.
It's not the same. It's not. I can't imagine the legislation actually says anything. I haven't read it. I could be wrong, and people could correct me. But
I mean, the only thing where I could ever see something like that, and I'm just looking at this from one standpoint, is like if a woman just was not taking care of herself at all, like smoking, drinking, doing all sorts of shit. We don't know. So there's a lot of things I could see that, like, definitely not good for the body and definitely not good for a baby. But that's still very, like, you could get really circumstantial in some cases. So but more so the reaction to this.
Yes. I mean, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard not the dumbest thing I've ever heard a leftist say, but definitely ranks up there as some of the stupidest ideas I've ever heard. So again, we haven't read the legislation. Alyssa Milano, I mean, she was hot back in the day, man, in Who's the Boss and that other show Charmed, where, like, her tits were out all the time. Oh yeah, one for the spank bank. But she's come out with this new protest, basically saying that because of this law in Georgia, she's under threat. Abortion is under threat, and women no longer have autonomy to their own bodies, kind of thing. And she suggested that women who are pro-abortion stop having sex, right, in protest of this law, which is ironic because she's just advocated for abstinence, which is the pro-life argument, right?
Yeah.
Which is, if you don't want to get pregnant, don't have sex. And she's just made that argument, right?
Join me in not having sex till we have our body autonomy back. And it's like, wait, hold on. We're taking responsibility here? There's responsibility now?
Yeah. And I mean, it's the dumbest thing ever, right? So she's advocating for abstinence. And she's basically saying, stop having sex with, these men. And who are the only men that these fucking crazy liberal SJW brain syphilis carrying people are going to have sex with? It's not going to be conservatives. It's fucking liberals. It's male feminists, right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, so, I mean,
how does this make sense? How are you punishing your allies? Right? These men are supposedly on your side, basically saying, we're going to punish these men who are on our side to go out and defeat the conservatives somehow on our behalf.
The rare cases where there are liberal women dating conservative men could have problems, but that still wouldn't be that big of a thing.
Right.
Like, you're not going to make that much of a change. Like, this really sex strike, like, for how many women, I guess, that actually identify on this is like, what, around 50%, if that?
Yeah, exactly. And even beyond that, she's now advocating for the very thing she's against, which is women not to have autonomy over their sex partners, right? So she's now authoritatively telling women not to have sex. So she's now trying to dictate how women should use their bodies, right? It fails. It fails on every fucking level.
It's Yeah, I saw that and I'm like, yeah, what like
I mean, I'm all for it. I don't want liberals breeding, so I think it's great.
yeah.
I mean, this is the feminist problem as well, right? Because feminists are basically going to go extinct because nobody will fuck them, right? So it's natural selection. I'm all for this. If
I mean,
liberals want to do
that
that,
is a problem as it is. Like, no one really wants to have kids with feminists, like, at all.
of course not. It's like sleeping with dynamite, bro. In fact, it's such an issue. Denmark, the nation of Denmark, and they have a very high feminist population. Apparently, I don't know this firsthand, but I've read some reports where it's so bad that women will gang up on men and berate them on the trains and the buses about how ugly they are and they're incels and nobody's gonna fuck them kind of thing. To the point where the government is now encouraging Danes to travel so they will fuck and have kids to support the welfare state. And they're saying, fuck a feminist for Denmark. Right? This is the level of insanity this shit has reached.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So feminism is going to go extinct just by natural selection. And I'm pretty happy that the SJWs are going to breed themselves out as well. I think this is great. I think we should celebrate, to be quite honest.
I mean, yeah, the only people that are really having kids are really just conservatives and non-feminists, you know?
Yeah. And that's it. Like, what is the conservative going to do? If the generalizing, of course, if the conservative knocks up some chick, he's probably going to take responsibility for that child. I mean, obviously not in every case, right? So this whole strike thing is actually, again, it's targeting the good men, like the men who will actually take responsibility.
That is what is going to happen, because all of the liberal male feminist men that aren't even getting that much sex to begin with are going to get no sex. So, and then the conservative men that
hopefully dating conservative women who aren't buying into this bullshit anyway are the only people who are going to get sex, which is great.
Yeah, and since when did a sex strike ever work?
Never.
I mean, hell, a hunger strike is gonna do better, but we're in the first world. A hunger strike is too hard.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Hard as fuck.
Exactly.
Supplements, man. We should get an endorsement deal.
You never know. Maybe that'll happen. So yeah, I literally only just heard about this like in the last day or two, and I was like, this can't be serious. But we'll have to really keep an eye on it to see if it goes anywhere, because if it goes any further than just, Alyssa Milano saying whatever, it's just gonna be hilarious, because it's like the left. It is almost another level of like the left eating itself.
Yes.
Like, they're, by trying to push for one thing, they're actually hurting themselves.
Correct.
They're depriving their men, if they have that many men to begin with, of sex, and kind of putting the responsibility again on them, kind of thing. Like, because a sex strike, I mean, for as people might want to perceive men or women to be, needing of sex, a sex strike isn't really that hard.
It's not.
It just isn't. Like,
it's the default state.
Very much is for a lot of people. So you're not going to accomplish anything. Like, you're not. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to get all of the women that are on your side, which is, I mean, liberally speaking, is just only 50%. Like, the pro-choice, pro-life argument is really half and half.
Yes.
But I really wonder if that's, what exactly it is in the States. With the pro-life movement being so off the air, so to speak.
Yeah.
I really wonder if it's still half and half. And even like the ones who, even among the more pro-choice individuals, how many of them actually identify with some, Alyssa Milano's brand of feminism to actually follow her footsteps? Like,
I mean, you're gonna have some crazies, right? And I mean, if you look at the Twitter feed, there are some women there saying, "Oh yeah, this is great. This is a good idea. It's too risky to have sex with men." And but I loved. There's a comment by Shoe on Head. For anybody who knows, she's a YouTuber, and she literally looked at it and said, "You're making the pro-life argument. Was this concocted by 4chan, and you people have fallen for it?"
It actually seems very much like it came from them. Like some guys in 4chan one day were like, "Okay, we're gonna convince Alyssa Milano,
yes,
that a sex strike is going to change laws regarding abortion.
yes.
We're going to like feed her somehow, like someone get to her and see if we get somewhere. And then next thing you know, like the news will come out like Alyssa Milano has 4chan users among her inner circle.
yeah.
That are just feeding her little things just for fun.
It's so stupid and so crazy. It looks like it came from the bowels of Paul and 4chan. I couldn't stop laughing at it when I saw it, and the more I thought about it, the dumber it got.
I mean, have you heard? So now these just for the viewers, the OK symbol has gone full blown.
Oh, that's racist.
Well,
you're a Nazi.
The what is it? The Cubs, baseball team, the Cubs, on their broadcast, while a reporter was on, basic sportscaster, just talking about the game. Somehow in the side of the edge of the view of the camera or something, someone like just did that. Not like just kind of like, hey, kind of an OK symbol, like which is what it is. And the broadcaster had to like put on an official apology.
Really?
When the article was when they showed the article and they showed like a screenshot of the reporter, they blurred out the gesture,
the hand gesture. Oh,
yeah,
that's gay.
Yeah,
that's
like
peak soy. That is like,
and
so
we
stupid.
know that came from 4chan.
Yes, it did.
Like there is no doubt about it. Anyone who knows anything about 4chan and the internet knows that 4chan has come out again and again to verify, yeah, we came up with this to fuck with you guys, to see if you would think you would like enjoy the fact that this OK symbol, what was it supposed to be like? Like the three hand, like white, and then the P was supposed to be for power or something.
Yeah, something.
Something. When this actual symbol is like older than a lot of other type of hand gestures. I mean, I don't know exactly. I'd have to look it up, but I mean, it's got to be on the level of like the thumbs up.
Yeah. Oh, and that's one they tried too, right? This is the 14 words, right? So it's the 1 and the 4, right? And that was a 4chan troll as well.
But I mean, even longer before that, I remember like in the Middle East, I guess a thumbs up had some sort of negative connotation.
Yeah, it's like sticking up your bum or something.
Something. So then as an extension of the death to America sentiment in some parts of the Middle East, when American soldiers would come, a lot of the natives would just thumbs up. They're like, hey, they like us here. No, no, they don't. But that's context, though. Like, just because it means one thing in one part of the world doesn't mean it's the same in other parts of the world.
Correct.
The OK symbol has been pretty much the same in most parts of the world. Granted, I think in like Brazil or something, it has some bad meaning to it.
Right.
But that's about it. Like, it's it's just not the same. So
I mean, the left with their brain syphilis, they do not understand any of this nuance, right? So it starts off as a 4chan troll. The media picks it up. So one article is written like, oh, there's this thing by 4chan, this, that, and the other. And then the next article quotes the first article to say, well, the New York shitpost went and wrote this article about the OK symbol being and it's a spiral effect. And then maybe some actual racists start using the symbol, and they're like, Illuminati confirmed kind of shit. Like, oh, you see, these people are doing this as well. And it's the fallacy of the undistributed middle. So that's like saying, well, Hitler drank water, you drink water, therefore you're Hitler. You're literally Hitler, right? Or, I mean, a better example is, a cat has 4 legs and an elephant has 4 legs, therefore a cat is an elephant, right? Just because you have one thing in common does not equate with the overarching sentiment, right? That's the fallacy of the undistributed middle. The left is fucking clueless. They do not understand context, nuance, none of it. And that's why everybody's a racist. That's why everybody's a Nazi, because they don't even understand what these words mean. And, they can't defend any of their positions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so. Yeah. I mean, I guess, is there something of that fallacy, would you say, in the Alyssa Milano thing?
I mean, yes. Well, I mean, the abortion debate is much more complicated. There is a bit of that because I don't think she's really losing any kind of autonomy, especially in California, right? This law has passed in Georgia, and
I'm saying in her argument behind the sex strike.
Right. So her argument is until we get full autonomy, which basically means being able to kill your baby at any point. Some of them want to do it even like within the first year of birth. Unless we get that, I'm under attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't actually literally lost anything. So it's just hyperbole. It's just complete exaggeration. And obviously she doesn't understand what real oppression means. If she and the why it's nuances again is because, in the leftist mind, the body is just a bunch of cells. It's kind of, they see it as a parasite kind of thing. So they don't see the child, the embryo as human, right? So that's leftist, that kind of thinking. While somebody who might be a little more pro-life would be like, no, conception might be the beginning of human life. It has the potential to be life, whatever. So unless you agree on those definitions, you're never going to agree on the philosophy or the policy. And that's why it's a little more complicated. It's a little more me personally, and you and I have discussed this. I mean, let's have the abortion conversation
Again.
Yes, I would consider myself pro-life personally, but I am pro-choice in the sense, like, I understand if you make abortions illegal, because I come from a country where abortions are illegal, it doesn't stop people from having abortions. In fact, it's worse because they have these backroom abortions, and many times the mother and the child die. Right?
Yeah, so you'll double your actual, like, in within the context of a pro-lifer's worldview.
Yes.
You're killing way more people.
Yes. So that was very difficult for me, especially coming from a background in a Christian tradition and stuff like that. In my home country of Trinidad and Tobago, there are entire wards of our hospital dedicated to women with botched abortions, right? So, and every hospital has one. So that's a real dilemma. So, like, I would love if every child could be brought to term and all these other kinds of things, but I understand that's a fallacy. It's a fantasy at best. So in that regard, policy-wise, yes, I am pro-choice, but I want it limited as much as humanly possible. I actually agree with probably the heartbeat law. I think before that, it's a stretch, but I could understand it. I don't know if I accept it, but I could understand it, that kind of being a dividing line. Now, I know you might have a different opinion on that, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. And it's a very tough position.
Yeah, I mean, my whole view is I mean, it's similar to yours in some ways, but I mean, I'm pro-life in my own sense, but I will not claim to just claim that. Sorry, I will not claim that I'm going to make a certain decision at it. If something did happen, does it mean that I am therefore pro-choice personally? I can't say either. I understand. I mean, I understand the argument you make that botched abortions and all this. Yeah, definitely want to keep it legal, and that hospitals, do it. Clinics can do it safely. Like but I also understand the fallacy behind the what is it? Safe, legal, and rare.
Yeah.
It's like because it's not rare at all.
No, and especially in the U.S., abortion was the number one cause of death last year. Like, that's pretty horrific.
Yeah, I mean, talk about population control.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's a Western disease, right? Because I don't know if you've seen. I think Black Pigeon Speak does. He did a video on how Japan looks at abortion, and they understand it as medically necessary to a degree, but there is actually a whole shaming process that's kind of attached to it, where there's literally a ceremony for the aborted fetus. And there's like a little statuette, and there's all the pomp and circumstance, and it's but
acknowledging that they are actually committing a
death, bringing a death. Yes.
Yeah.
And that is light years away from what we saw recently in Ireland, for instance, when abortion was constitutionally kind of legalized or permitted. I haven't read it. And you saw women cheering and crying and being so happy that they can kill their kids. Right. And as Rollo Tomasi would say it, like, abortion is the ultimate expression. And Conk, you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, bro. Abortion is the ultimate expression of hypergamy, because it allows the women to sexually choose who will and will not father their child. Right. So if she gets
all right, I mean, according to what Rollo says, yeah.
So if she happens to get knocked up by the beta Bucks guy, she wants the option to terminate that pregnancy because she does not actually want to carry on that lineage for whatever reason, right? So it gives women the ultimate safeguard in their hypergamous nature to pick who exactly will be, the father, of the child and stuff like that. And that's not talked about, but it's a reality, that's peak hypergamy right there.
Yeah, I guess I'm seeing that as, I'm not going to have a kid with someone, just won't. There was now, have you known people personally that
who've had an abortion?
Yeah.
I know several.
Yeah, I mean, there was someone I had worked with, and when I worked at I used to work at a McDonald's a long time ago, and all sorts of people work there.
Yeah.
And so there was a girl that was there, a young girl that probably not even a month or two along in her pregnancy.
Right.
And basically starts telling people in, like, just talking during work, starts mentioning that she might, like, get an abortion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I actually didn't make a comment. I didn't make any, like, I didn't shove anything down her throat or anything to kind of, like, say don't do it or whatever. I just was kind of like, because it got heated anytime anyone brought it up. I mean, it actually came up a few times. People started talking about the whole clump of cells thing. And so I still had a very, like, religiously backed sort of view on it. Like, it's a life. Like, yes, it is a life. And yes, it is not just a clump of cells. Yes, I didn't have more nuanced views on, like, okay, the potential for life counts as life, knowing, like, the different stages and stuff. I just was kind of like, very black and white on it. But I still didn't talk about it because I knew how controversial it could be. Then there was a older woman there. She was, well, older. I'm saying probably in her 40s, but anyways, older woman. She worked there at McDonald's. She was there too. She was a mother of a few children, and she didn't speak very good English. She was Hispanic, so didn't speak the best English, but she understood what was going on, and she said her piece, and that was that. One day, this girl comes into work. She has this like weird mark on her arm or something. I don't know what it was, and she said, "Yeah, it's done." And but just her attitude seemed a little bit too nonchalant about it. Like,
Yeah.
just kind of did it, and I'm like, "Whew."
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in a position where you can't raise a child, and I can understand that. But goddamn, like, have a little bit of remorse. I mean, because I can understand. Yeah, it is. I can understand. I'm not saying I necessarily sympathize. I can understand the decision of like you're in a position in your life where raising a child is just going to put too much stress on you, people around you, you know, financially, mentally, just a lot of things, even just time and resources, all of that. I can understand, but I don't condone it at all. So if someone makes a decision, I just I really see it as kind of just like a solemn nod, like, okay, you did what you did. I can't really do much about it. This is the world we're in. Whatever this leads to, that's up to you. If you're not going to have like such a more better, this better life, I guess, like the argument is, someone who's in school, someone who's, not financially stable and all this. Okay. So I guess if you do that once, you sure as hell better be like moving on a path that is making yourself better. Like you better actually like make more money, get your degree, get a job.
Hopefully not in gender studies or something.
Make it actually worth it.
I would hope so.
But that doesn't quite seem to be the case.
I mean, we can't speak for every woman in that position. We don't know. I don't know if you know what happened to that particular young lady that you knew. The human question wants to know where you got the Kekistan hat, by the way. But yeah, it is a tough decision. And again, if you've been kind of brainwashed into it and thinking, okay, it's just a lump of cells, it's not a human being, I can understand why she wouldn't have any remorse, right? I can understand, she just in her worldview, it's not real. I wish she would. I wish women wouldn't celebrate it. I don't like the idea of women coming out with, I've had so many abortions and yay me and, woman power and, all this shit. I think that's pretty despicable,
I was actually watching a video last night. It was a weird one. It was just showing 10 different scenarios where like seeing a person being sentenced to life in prison.
Right.
And so the narrator in the video was like, here's an individual, this is what they did, here's how old they are, and this is why they served life in prison. And it was a pretty consistent response of anger, fear, just unrestrained just display of remorse.
Yes.
A lot of them were younger people, like around my age. So not too many were in the couple were maybe in their 30s, but it was just like this remorse. This even some people were showing like just you can't really fake that. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, there were a small handful they showed to kind of like, hey, this is what happened. This is a kind of here's a person that's getting a life sentence and doesn't care.
Right. Right.
You know, he thinks what he did was worth it. Whereas there are individuals that were like they just had a moment of, you know, if you want to say moment of weakness or something just triggered the absolute wrong way
Mm.
for something they did not know how to handle, and they just acted in, you know, very, very poorly and killed someone. And or a practical joke gone wrong kind of thing.
Right. Right. I
Some
don't
of
think
these scenarios.
you wouldn't get life for involuntary manslaughter, but
No. Not more so like just someone with a really bad anger problem that they
right.
did not
Right.
know about, or someone who did it who basically engaged in a practical joke, and just somehow inhibitions went out the door at one point, and just they did something that. Anyways, there were different states, and there are certain scenarios that I saw that were like basically just bad timing, bad thing that just where a person just did not know what was going on, and by the time they were done, they were like, "Oh shit, I killed someone."
Right.
Because like, and so, um, that level of remorse, a lot of the times I saw just the videos I saw, you could see was just like genuine.
Sure. Sure.
And I'm not gonna go and say, yeah, you know, therefore let him go or whatever, but that I'm trying to draw a parallel to abortion. Because that level of remorse really put them in a position to really think twice. Now they're like, holy shit, I'm going to be gone for like my life.
Yeah.
They actually showed there was one clip. There was a guy. He had to be in his 50s, and he was going to face 25 years to life.
Right.
So as he's receiving his sentencing, the camera is showing him, and he's kind of like putting his hands in his face, and he's just like, you know, showing stress.
Yeah.
And they realized they didn't notice this as the reporters were watching this. As he did that, he slipped something in his mouth,
Right.
poisoned himself.
Right.
Minutes later, he collapses in the court and died because he could
Right.
not face going to prison. Um,
Not for the rest of his life. I think to a certain degree that is cruel and unusual punishment. But
life in prison.
yeah, I mean, there are some monsters out there. Don't get me wrong. I understand that, but you got to be real sure. You know that's always the problem.
And yeah, and you can't claim to, like, you know, a judge can't just look at someone's degree of remorse and kind of make a call.
Yeah, there's no way to tell. There's no way to tell.
So so I'm seeing that level of remorse and the fact that there is no other chance on that unless it's like ridiculously good behavior for like 50 years or some shit before they could like appeal something or the laws
Option for
change
parole, yeah,
something. And it's like by that point, like most of your life is over.
yeah.
The fact that abortion offers such um a consequence-free decision with no pressure to have any real remorse from either from the laws, from courts, or from society even
Right.
is scary enough.
I agree. I mean, it depends on the circumstances. I mean, we don't want to get too grim and too depressing because this is a very depressing topic, right?
I know. I see that and I go, it's
We can't say. Honestly, we can't say because every circumstance is different. I would hope there is a level of remorse. But I mean, there are some psychopaths out there. There are, sociopaths that just don't care about anybody else, and I mean, there are women out there who've literally had like abortions into the teens, right? Like I read some article, she's had like 27 abortions and now she's sterile kind of thing. And oh my God, now she wants to have kids, this kind of shit. But this is the lie of feminism, right? This is the lie of you can live a life without consequences. Act like a man, be a man or whatever the case might be. And men are going to subsidize your lifestyle. The laws are going to subsidize your choices. And we're going to remove consequence and agency from all women at the expense of men, right? That's feminism, modern feminism in a nutshell. And that is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything in life has consequences and for your actions. So I don't think we're doing women any favors. And we'll see it. I think this generation of crazy feminists are going to die out because nobody is going to marry them. They're not going to have kids. And the conservatives win by default, right? So I think the fruit of these ideologies will bear themselves out in the next 20 years as these women hit the wall and, go through menopause and all that good stuff. And it's the end of it.
Someone had said that basically the left nowadays is looking a lot like the social conservatives of like the 70s.
And the 80s when they were blaming video games and, rock music and all that kind of stuff. It's the same shit. They were trying to like ban movies and ban whatever, The Exorcist or even Star Wars. A whole bunch of Christians were protesting Star Wars because of the Force, taking God's place kind of thing. Monty Python in the UK was protested by a bunch of Christians because it was kind of mocking the Christ figure and stuff like that. I mean, it's very funny. But I back then it was very different. That was the right, that was the conservatives doing that. I don't think the conservatives really cared. I don't think they give a shit anymore as long as you're not hurting anybody else. I think the libertarian ideal kind of taken over the mainstream thinking of what would be considered conservative. And the left have gone completely communist, right? So that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Now that we're getting, now that we're steering a little bit out of the grim topic.
So. Yeah. Let's lighten the mood, man. Yeah. So where do you get the Kekistan hat? So the human question can put in order.
So for the viewers, there's 2 items I got on here. So if you look, there's actually a Kekistan hat. Actually, that is the Velcro I just tore off there. There's a Kekistan flag that you can get. It's just a patch with Velcro on the back, and then you can just look up any sort of like, what is this called here? Condor. Condor is the brand of this hat, and it's basically just got a Velcro front. There's also a Velcro back, but it's just like a strip. It's not an actual like rectangle. So you couldn't really put anything there. But I just got that. I slapped the flag on the front, and then I got the hat. So you can actually get different kind of flag patches, and I thought about like if I got like the ANCAP flag or different other kinds of flags, the hat by default comes with like just a rubber type of like American flag patch you can throw on there, America, that whole thing. But yeah, that's where I got it. So whole thing was maybe 20 some bucks. Maybe.
Where did you buy it? You bought it on Amazon or?
Yeah, Amazon and stuff. I mean, you can find it just about anywhere. Just type in Kekistan flag patch and then type in like Velcro hat. Condor was the brand I got, and I got the Flex Fit, so it's not like a snapback. So
right. Well, speaking of America, have you heard about the controversy surrounding Ben Shapiro?
So all I know about it is there's a video clip going around of Ben Shapiro on BBC with some guy, and I'm hearing a lot of Ben Shapiro gets destroyed, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, basically a mockery of all the Ben Shapiro destroys videos, right?
The one of the few times that Ben Shapiro has basically, like, I guess, lost some control of the conversation.
Oh, he lost total control of the conversation. And it wasn't that he didn't have arguments, right? So I mean, let me paint the backdrop. So Andrew Neil, he's a conservative. He's not a liberal. He actually runs the Spectator, which is a conservative magazine out here in the UK. So people like Douglas Murray, he wrote The Strange Death of Europe about the issue of mass uncontrolled immigration. And there are a lot of like free speech activists and stuff like that. I wouldn't get into it. We have an American audience. You wouldn't hear of these people. So Andrew Neil does a show, I think, called it Political Talk or something like that. And he's been doing this for God knows how long. He's a senior gentleman, and he's done this shit for years, right? He's been dealing with crazy leftists, socialists, communists, the labor movements of the 70s against Thatcher, and like the free market think tank. The man is well seasoned at discussion. But he honestly he'd never heard of Ben Shapiro, right? He's, and this is the divide between, the UK and the US. Ben Shapiro is huge, one of the biggest conservative podcasts, as well as his publication, was it The Daily Wire? I think, and he has one of the biggest podcasts in the world, or conservative podcasts in the world. Andrew Neil, old time gentleman, he has the publication, he's got this stuff. And anyway, I think Shapiro's written a book recently.
Right Side of History.
The Right Side of History. So the interview was supposed to be about the book. Excuse me. And they never really got to the book, right? They never really got to the book. So it actually got hot button around the issue of abortion that we've discussed. And Andrew Neil made a comment about how American conservatism is taking people back to the dark ages when you consider the Georgian law about, the 6 weeks. And he made the assumption that about the miscarriage, like most miscarriages will happen after 6 weeks, and that could potentially put women at risk, sort of thing. And then he, in typical kind of fashion, he starts pulling out a whole bunch of old tweets, basically trying to, the gotcha movement for Ben Shapiro. So Ben Shapiro, who's a very skilled debater, very quick thinker, started to kind of do some pot shots back to him. Like, I thought this was the BBC. I thought you're supposed to be like, middle of the road, trying to be fair and balanced. But how could you make a claim about, our laws are sending people back to the dark ages and not claim to be biased, right? And I would agree with that. The conservatives in Europe are very different from the conservatives in the US, especially on the issue of abortion. And
on the political spectrum, conservative and liberal are very different in the UK than where they are in the US.
Correct. So conservative out here it's center slight left, right? Conservative in the US is definitely on the right hand side of the political spectrum. So yeah, in Europe, abortion is not even a discussion. It's just granted. So I mean, he did make that off the cuff comment, and Ben Shapiro, kind of fired back at him like, you're not being fair and whatever. And the two of them kind of got into this hissy fit, right? Like, he's like, I think Ben Shapiro is saying that, I think you brought me on here, to do some research, but you're just upset because I'm popular and nobody knows who you are, right? And Andrew Neil kind of responded, well, I didn't know who you were either until I started looking into this. And it was a lot of this kind of back and forth sort of thing. And eventually, it got to the point where Ben Shapiro he'd had enough. And his body language was phenomenal. I mean, there was a point where he was literally had like his finger on his face, which is like peak frustration. Is anytime you're touching your face like this, it's comfort. It was like peak frustration. And it resulted in Ben Shapiro walking off of the set. And I believe, I can't remember I don't know if this is true or not, but he tweeted something about like liberal bias at the BBC. Which is it's a given. The fucking BBC is a fucking communist organization as far as I'm concerned, right? Mm-hmm. But Andrew Neil is actually a conservative. To the point where Shapiro actually had to apologize for that statement because he really didn't know who Andrew Neil was. But yeah, that is the controversy. Now, I know you're a big Ben Shapiro fan.
For the most part, I mean, I definitely, I do see a lot of, I'll see the memes and stuff, and some of these like centrist types that'll put up memes about him. Like I can, I can kind of identify with a lot of how centrists, like, they'll make these memes about Shapiro. They'll make memes about like Charlie Kirk from Turning Point USA.
Yes.
Just kind of the how they tend to at times, like, the way they argue becomes a meme.
Yes.
Hashtag liberals suck, or hashtag, fuck tax, whatever. It's just that they got all these like catchphrases and things they say, facts don't care about your feelings. And like, and I do like how, like, someone like Ben Shapiro at least has really has a level of self-awareness. Like, I don't know if you saw him with Dr. Phil.
No, I didn't.
There was a clip. There's a clip, and it says, it was kind of using. So they basically kind of use like a Dr. Phil intro, but it said, on this week's, Sunday special, which is Ben Shapiro's weekly thing he does. He has a guest on, does this like long form talk. But it's like in a Dr. Phil format. It was like, on this week's, Sunday special, and it's Dr. Phil, and he goes, "Now, Ben, I know you like to say facts don't care about feelings, but we need to talk about the facts about your feelings." And Shapiro just runs off the set, in fear. Like, that was the joke. And I was like, hey, that's pretty good. He's got, in good spirits and stuff.
Yes.
So I get that. So, and of course, there's been times I've seen like Shapiro has said, yeah, I don't really identify too strongly with my more conservative views. When it comes to like the social side of politics, it's like he's more libertarian when it comes to that.
Yes.
Government sucks at a lot of things, and they shouldn't get involved with a lot of social issues. Decriminalization of drugs, gay marriage and stuff. He just thinks government shouldn't get involved. People should have the right to do what they want.
Yes.
Although, and that's even tricky for some people. There was a conversation that Rogan had with Shapiro. Shapiro's very relaxed, having a good conversation with Joe, but Joe just couldn't believe, like, how can you have a religious belief that you like he said, yeah, I'm friends with, Dave Rubin and his husband. They come over for dinner. They've come over for dinner a few times.
Yes.
But I would not go to Dave Rubin's wedding.
Yeah.
And then Rogan's like, well, like, he couldn't quite grasp, like, you can be friends with someone but not agree with certain decisions they make in their life.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think it's like no different than like, I've got friends that I've hung out with, but then if they're going to go do something that I just don't want to do, does that make me a horrible friend? I just don't, oh, they're going to go to, I don't know, like, oh, they're going to have like, go to the bar one night. No, I just don't want to drink, I don't feel like drinking. Does that mean I'm, I'm a bad friend now? Or, what do you got against alcohol? No, I just didn't, don't, maybe I don't drink, Does that make me a bad friend? It's like, so it's just that whole thing kind of was like Rogan was having a hard time wrapping his head around, like, what?
I mean, for somebody who's doesn't have like a religious background, right? Rogan is not religious. He was raised kind of Christian sort of thing, but I mean, I don't think he ever really got into it. It's difficult. It's difficult for them to understand that worldview where, you don't approve of the lifestyle, but you could still love the person, kind of thing. And I agree. It's a very hard line to draw. I mean, I don't really think I have that line very much anymore.
Right.
And I remember the cognitive dissonance that would take place when I tried to draw it when I was religious. And I think I'm trying to remember what Shapiro said on the podcast. I think it was something like, well, the religious ceremony is kind of something before God and the state, and he didn't really want to participate in that kind of thing. Yeah, it's a weird one. It's definitely a weird one.
Yeah. So yeah, that was that I mean, that's really my thoughts on that. Is everyone has their flaws and their arguments. And
I mean, he has some good stuff though. I mean,
Shapiro was one of the first people I listened to kind of break out of like the PC arguments, just to really get myself to think about, like, because at first So the very first thing I heard him talking about was was it that radio show that he was on? The comment where he's like, because it has nothing to do with uh something. It was where he was talking with some like I think it was like BLM type people or something, where
Right.
he's sitting down and there's like a panel. There was like these like
Oh, right.
backdrop,
Right.
and then
Right.
he's
Right.
like, because it has nothing to do with uh fuck, I forgot the quote, but it was like everything to do with culture. So he's addressing the problem with like why are black kids graduating at lower rates, higher
Right.
crime, all this stuff. And he goes, that has nothing to do with all of that. It has all to do with culture. And there's of course the guy that's kind of like raises his hand, like, oh my gosh, like what the hell, like. And I for just the way for how strong and quick Ben Shapiro was kind of stating his points. I wasn't so concerned he was talking fast. It's just how sure of himself he was in his arguments.
Yeah.
My brain was essentially triggered, like it just sounded racist because that was a
Right.
conditioned response. But then over time, I'm like, am I a racist because this guy makes sense? Just different things, like because he looks at these problems. I even like just the perception of like someone who'd maybe be like a racist or an alt-righter or so white supremacist, even that perception of Ben Shapiro was like rubbing off that way. And then I realized, no. Here's the real ones,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
versus
that is the big conversion story, isn't it? That you were deprogrammed.
yeah. And I'm just like kind of like, squinty-eyed looking at things like what's going on here? Like, is this because of course that's my natural state. That's how I always look.
Squinty-eyed.
Being half Chinese. No, it just that was how it like just felt. Was like I'm just like looking at everything like, is that really how things are? Like, um,
That's
even
good.
just when you kind of and then of course later on, the kind of you came through with the of course the libertarian stuff, and I was like, oh, government really sucks. But yeah, but I wanted us to kind of get into something quick, give it, I guess, a little time while we still have a few. We actually have more viewers now. We had 6 watching, now we have 8.
Hello,
Um,
viewers.
we are
Big
so
announcement, guys.
big announcement. Yes, the name of the episode actually.
Please.
Yeah, the name of the episode is hinting at that, because this will be our last episode under the name Shitlord Preachers.
Dun dun dun.
We will, yeah. Ever since mid-July of 2017, we've been doing this show. The first 3 episodes was just the Amos and Brook live stream.
Good times.
Definitely go check that out. See how awesome our I mean, it was PewDiePie levels of camera work there.
Early PewDiePie, yes.
Well, people have commented like PewDiePie has had some like shady camera work in the recent videos he's done, and he got a new camera. Like people were talking about like color correction problems. A couple of videos he did were like kind of blurry in some spots. Just anyways, no. So yeah, we did the 3 episodes of that, and then we called it Shitlord Preachers. For a couple episodes, we just called it that, and then we started adding titles. Then the numbers started going up. We started, we were part of the Think Liberty Network for a little bit there, and it just the thing that we noticed was there's good content, people like it, but the name is just not going to get out there. For as much as we want to, go to, put maximum effort to sticking it to mainstream media, the leftist agenda on social media and on different platforms, the PC culture, the whole thing. The name the word shitlord itself, we're immediately losing the battle.
Are you saying it's problematic?
Very problematic.
Has somebody been triggered?
I mean, yes and no. It's just a hard sell to get people on board.
Yes.
We have had guests that now that are in the 100,000 mark of subscribers that we could have had on the show that could not come on the show simply because being associated with the word shitlord had connotations that they did not want to risk their reputation with.
Correct.
At first, my thoughts was like, oh, a bunch of cucks or whatever.
Goddamn communists.
But there is something to be said over time as we realize, like, because subscriber counts are fluctuating. Listenership is mostly steady, but we're just not going to get out there. It's not the episodes are not going to get out there as much. Like it literally has to be purely organic, and purely organic doesn't work so well nowadays.
Correct.
I mean, Facebook's not going to allow you to advertise your stuff. YouTube is definitely not going to show. I mean, if Steven Crowder with absolutely zero swear words in the words he types out, I mean, he says things, but he bleeps it out. So it's pretty clean, really.
Yes.
Except for the really controversial stuff. But still, it's like it's all reality. It's not really like he's not. There's only been like one or two times I've ever seen him even make like jokes about like Kekistan or something.
Right.
And granted, not that it's like, we're never going to make those jokes. I mean, you have Sargon of Akkad, but we need to move forward with a name that is less edgy. Something that talks about what we're talking about, but also isn't like placating. It's not too pandering to, we're not going to call it like the diversity podcast, maximum diversity. But we're not going to try to be like, we're really not going to try to like mimic anyone else's name. Yeah.
So, I mean, I've tried to like boost ads for Facebook for the podcast.
It immediately gets denied.
I'd get it for like 2 seconds and then it's denied. Right. And I would put an asterisk by the shitlord. So I'd like SHI asterisk T for shit. Yeah. So it's guys, it's really difficult to advertise. And I mean, we want to do some advertising, but it's just impossible to do it. And even some people that would be really good guests, they're struggling with the name. So as much as I know we love it, it's kind of been our brand for it. I mean, we've done a year's worth, but we've been on this for longer than a year because we took a couple weeks off.
Yeah. So, we're the goal right now is Brooke and I are we're going to take next week off. I mean, from time to time we do take a week off, but we're letting everyone know we're taking next week off. We've got other stuff going on, but we're going to be basically like brainstorming and kind of workshopping an idea to like a new name. We're going to continue with the episode. So the next episode will still be episode 53. The idea, I guess, would be Shitlord Preachers was one of the names this show has had.
Yes.
And the name that we're going to come up with next will most likely be the name for as long as the show goes on. So there will be more episodes under a new name. This name, I would hope, than Shitlord Preachers.
Eventually, yes. So that
eventually,
at least another year worth of podcast.
Yeah,
loyal listeners.
Which will probably be in less time. We won't go like another year and a half to do a year's worth of episodes.
Because we took some months off, bro. We were pretty shit.
2017, we kind of did that, and then there was like 2018. There were like whole months we were gone.
Yeah.
So we do appreciate everyone that has stayed with us this whole time. We do have people who still watch us like from the beginning. I have people that I know personally that listen to the show. regularly. And so, yeah, we want to make this a name. I mean, saying Shitlord Preachers, it sounds all edgy and cool. And someday we'll revisit that and like just talking about it. We're not going to actually go back to the name, but we do have to look at a different name now. Yeah. So if anyone has any suggestions, definitely find us on Twitter. I'm at Amos Joe. Brook is at Brook_Potter. Definitely, either whether you can send us a DM if you have that ability on Twitter, or like tweet at us or something.
Yes.
We've touched on a whole bunch of names. We've gone from like just very like similarly edgy names but less vulgar to names that just like make us way too unique that you can't market the name. So it's like we want to market it, but we also want to like make sense.
Correct.
Like we joked, the glorious house of memes. Pointing to the glory
memes and
temple of memes podcast, because we were thinking of like some sort of religious thing since we were both former preachers. Like, what if we touched on that? Like, I don't know.
There's
another one.
Hopefully we'll like I was doing what, rum on ice.
You wanted so the funny thing. Well, do we want to talk about the rum thing? Yeah. So the rum. So Brook is like, your favorite drink is rum
and Coke. Yes,
rum and Coke. But like every other day, we talk about anything resembling like Brook's rum. Just so you wanted rum in the name. I'm thinking like, because there's so many like alcohol names.
Yeah, 2 shots of tequila.
Yeah, there's just podcast names and I was like, rum. So I'm like, let me just look this up. So I type in Google, define rum, and of course the first one is the alcoholic, the drink. But then it said like second meaning, rum could mean odd or peculiar, and I'm like, oh. So we kind of played with that a bit, like rum this, rum that, like rummaging, rum runners, rummaging rum, 3R, rummaging rum runners or something, or rum riders. I don't know. But I was like, not rum rider. Now I'm sounding like a cross between being alcoholic and Mad Max or something. I don't know.
It's just Rough Riders, so maybe we drop a rap album or something, But yeah, I think like even I was having the discussion. I was saying, like, I saw a podcast. I think it was 2 shots of tequila. I've never listened to it, but it was advertised on the Underground in London. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, oh man, that could be us. We could put the thing up, and I'll look good, 4 feet tall and whatever. And it's like, wait a minute. No, that's never gonna happen,
With the name Shitlord Preachers, no.
Exactly.
Some post-apocalyptic world, we'd be huge.
Yeah. And I mean, we would like to probably explore some brand deals, because as it is right now, we're not making any money off this. This is just a labor of love. But let's be real. We would like to maybe get some tactical soap, or some beard oil company, or Bitches Incorporated, something, to like make some extra money. So
yeah. And of course we will during this time that we're going to be figuring this out, just to remind everyone, we do have a Patreon and a Subscribe Star. I know we haven't mentioned it a lot in the last few episodes, but we do have those. They will still say Shitlord Preachers until we rename.
Yes.
It's just funny. Sometimes I get an email, from Patreon, Shitlord, you have this, and I'm like, oh, it's just so weird. So I gotta we're gonna have to we're workshopping for a new name. We're gonna even look into some new channel artwork. There will be a split in terms of channels. Everyone knows that we're doing the stream on my channel, and we have my videos there. But the most likely thing we're gonna do is my videos will be moved to a different channel. At least we're not gonna. Yeah, we're gonna move them to a different channel, and then this will become like the podcast channel, dedicated podcast channel. And then of course Brook still have his channel. I'll still have, and then I'll have another channel, but I probably am not going to put as much work into that one just because now that we're rebranding, we want to make this more
focus on the podcast.
Yeah. We're gonna this is just gonna be the main thing, for me at least.
I agree.
So yeah, I mean,
no, it's exciting. And guys, anybody listening and anybody who will be listening later on iTunes or Podbean, or are we on Spotify? I don't know if we're on Spotify.
No. So the episodes just go to Podbean, which then goes to iTunes. So that's the big one. Okay. I think it might go to Stitcher. It's not clear because Podbean, I think it gets mirrored to other sources automatically, just because certain other podcasting platforms just pull from the general feed in the ether. They just pull all podcasts in. So
I was saying, for anybody who's listening, as Amos has already mentioned, we're open to some ideas. Is that Roosevelt? Is that a human question? Is that a suggestion? I don't know. But yeah, we're definitely open to ideas, because of course we wouldn't be doing the. I mean, we do this anyway because we talk all the time. But it's good to have the guys and girls hopefully listening in, tuning in, and we want to extend the conversation to you guys as well. So I'm excited about the change. I'm actually going to be in Northern Ireland looking for a Black Irish. Anybody who doesn't know what that is, you missed it. You got to go back. It's not what you think. It's not a drink. But yeah, I'm going out to Ireland for about 5 days. Hopefully, we'll discuss the tripping and stuff like that later on. But yeah, I'm excited for the rebrand. I'm excited to finally start promoting the page, putting some marketing budget, and hopefully getting some endorsement deals, man. I mean, the tactical soap is everybody's got that shit now.
Yeah. The big thing I think is just so we're able to get people on here that aren't afraid of a name. Because it's happened plenty of times where it's yeah, you guys do good stuff, and I love what you're talking about, but man, that name, it's
and people can't share it. Guys, if that's the situation, hit us a message and be like, hey, bros, we love the show, we love what's going on, but we can't really share this because some people will be offended by the name and stuff like that. And I'd also if anybody is out there, please leave us some reviews, some 5-star reviews, or whatever review you want to give us. It does help us get into the rankings in iTunes and Spotify and all these other places. So we want to take this very seriously. We've invested in the equipment. I'm looking pretty good, man. You're looking pretty good with your new camera and your microphone and stuff. So yeah. If
compare it to the very first stream we did when I was using 480p, eyesight camera on the MacBook that I had, and wearing clicking away with the internal microphone, just just no
picking up the room noise and everything.
And I did it in a corner of the room, so it was picking up it was bouncing around and shit. I didn't know much about sound until people were like, hey, you ever thought about getting a microphone? I'm like, oh.
Exactly. So I'm excited, Amos. I'm looking forward to the new brand going forward. And hopefully it'll be brand friendly, so people could start sharing it, and it could open up some really interesting doors, I feel. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah. The big thing is because just get people to listen to it, getting people to see beyond they just see a title and they go, oh, hey, that's sounds like an interesting thing. They listen to it, and then they get exposed to all the we'll just say the shitlord stuff, and then they can kind of decide from there. Oh, do they But this will definitely be a big jump. So anything else you want to add, Brook?
No. I'm looking forward to the break. Anybody who knows any Irish chicks in the Belfast area, slide up in my DMs and send me some messages. But yeah, I'm excited. We'll come back in a couple weeks, and I hopefully, we get some suggestions from the listeners. That'll be really good.
I'm already seeing some interesting ones. Asian Capitalist 2.0. Yeah, I mean, I'd go for that, but Brooke's not Asian enough, so
yeah, I'm only like 1/8 or 16th Asian. It's really small now, so
we got to add up. Let's see, I'm half, and if you're like a 16th,
yeah, we could we come up with a number. I mean, the East India Trading Company might be pretty fun, because that was the British in Asia, so it's kind of a combination.
Call it, something else.
Silk Road.
I was about to say Silk Road. The Silk Road Journey podcast.
Have you been shopping on the Silk Road, Amos?
No. It's not really allowed here. Come on, what are you talking about?
Been shut down. The Silk Road 2.0 has been shut down. It was
like
run by a kid.
That's I actually did an episode on Think Liberty podcast about Silk Road. We were touching on like what they call like agorism.
Right, yeah.
And we touched on a little bit on Silk Road and stuff. But anyways, so so thank you everyone for listening today. Once again, do like and comment the video, subscribe to the channel, of course. Check us out on iTunes, leave a review, helps us a lot there. The names will all be changing as soon as we get it all figured out. So some people might start seeing like the names of this episode will still be saying Shitlord Preachers, but then the podcast name will change. So people will notice that the artwork will change, the name's not even on Facebook, which might be a little tricky if we do like a name change on Facebook. Facebook gets all stingy about that. So but yeah, do check us out on all of those platforms. Follow us on social media. Let us know if you guys have suggestions about names again. And we will see everyone in 2 weeks.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for watching, guys.